We're gonna watch how I view the US after 30 years living in Europe. Do you guys think he's gonna be satisfied with Europe living conditions, or perhaps, he's reminiscing of the good old days of the US?
In the USA, this laptop here costs over $2,000. Yet,
Okay.
not only did I get it for free, but Apple paid me an additional $2,000 value on top of it. Why? Because I didn't buy the last laptop that I'd bought that I was unhappy with in the US. I bought it in Europe, where, as a consumer, I have so many more rights I never could have dreamed of having in the USA. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. When I moved from the US to the UK over 13 years
Yeah, just another aspect that Europe is doing better than US is consumer laws regarding gaming. Like if you look around, you loot boxes and purchases that could be viewed as gambling are taken into consideration by the government here, and in America they don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck. They're like, the younglings, let them gamble on Fortnite. Let them buy a million V-Bucks here. No, no, you gotta be more careful. And you can see that in the App Store. Like you cannot download, for example, Diablo Immortal. I know who's playing Diablo Immortal in 2025, but apparently, even to this day, because of the shady practices they have there, Europe decided, yeah, it will not make it available for our customers in many countries. I was in Netherlands, I'm in Romania right now, and in both of them it's unavailable in the App Store.
ago, it was not meant to be permanent. My goal was to get my degree and then go back to the US and get a job and start my career and jumpstart my life, but with some international experience. I was thinking this was the only time in my life where I could reasonably live abroad for such a long period of time, a temporary adventure. But
Yeah.
when I finished my degree, something unexpected happened. I didn't want to go back, and that seems to be a pretty unanimous experience of Americans moving to Europe. The longer I stayed in London, the more I began to notice all of the assumptions
I think, at least for me, the major reason for that is the work culture. Like in America, you gotta work yourself to the bone just so you can get by. Here you can be a bit more chill and you still can thrive. Obviously, you're not gonna make that much money, but also there's way less risks of you getting fired if the boss decides, I don't like how your face looks. See you, bye bye. And yeah, you also work way less, which for many that's a good, like, that's you take it and you're happy, or take it or leave it.
that I'd grown up believing in America, the things I was brought up to believe were undeniably true and just the way the world worked, it turns out they weren't true at all. And it goes so much further than the full story behind this laptop. My name is Evan Ettinger, and these are the 9 biggest realizations that I've had after moving abroad, and the rights and freedoms that I gained from leaving the land of the free. Let's jump in with the
Land of
biggest
the
stuff
free.
first. Bring out the big guns. I was raised in a very pro-gun household. In my family home in America, we had a 12-gauge shotgun, a 10-gauge, a black powder rifle, and a 410 shotgun for the children.
Bro, imagine you're a bulgler, and you try to enter this guy's house, bro. It's a fortress. The whole family is gonna wait you with shotguns. Fuck that bullshit.
Dad would take us out some days to shoot empty cans of beer, or play pigeons, or sometimes go hunting for pheasants or deer. And this was in New Jersey, mind you. Quite a blue state. I was raised around guns, and in school I was taught that owning a gun is a fundamental freedom and is part of being an American. Inseparable. In the Boy Scouts, this was driven home even more. But because gun ownership is viewed as a fundamental right, it wasn't ever really a serious consideration to not have them. The idea that other countries do not allow guns is viewed more like these other countries are missing a fundamental right. This is why the conversation can get a bit weird for many Americans. In London, most of these standard police don't have guns, and for most police work they do, they don't need them. Owning a personal firearm here for the average person is almost impossible, and I've never once missed the ability to own one. Why? Well, what reason would I have to own a gun? The main reason,
Yeah, the main reason would be that somebody with a gun will come out after you, or perhaps armed with a knife or something, and you can, take them out. But how many times would that occur? Also, you have to consider the chances of this person having a gun in America is like 1 to 10 ratio compared to one in Europe because it's much harder to acquire here, right? So if you're not a big fan of just going outside and chilling with your boys and shooting cans, I can see, and you just like, just have them around, there's no point. Then of course you wouldn't be missing them if you're going to Europe.
Average American owns a gun these days isn't really to join a well-formed militia to keep the government in check just in case
No.
of tyranny. That ship sailed, hasn't it? It's also not to hunt, and it's also not for sport. It's more of a fear-driven decision. You see, bad people
Yeah.
have guns, so now I, as a good person, need a gun too to protect myself
Exactly.
from the bad people with guns. So that way, all of us have killing devices on us. It just makes sense, right? But as I've now lived in a country...
The problem is the bad guy will initiate violence regardless, especially if he's mentally deranged, which there are many of. Especially with the rise of technology, people are more disincentivized of, violence of all sorts, so they just don't give a shit. Also, their life, they're like, who cares if I throw it away? So they just go with a gun and go Armageddon mode.
where the public don't have access to firearms, I'd say, as you could probably tell, my opinion on them changed dramatically, especially with the constant stream of horrendous shootings happening literally every day in the USA. There was 6 yesterday. In schools, there's in mosques, there's in churches, people are just getting shot up all over the place, and yet politicians are like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Like, we can't try anything. We just have to deal with it. Can bad people still get guns in the UK? Yeah,
For
supposedly,
sure.
but it's much more difficult, and therefore the crimes with guns are equally rare. Visiting Philadelphia when I
It's the same argument, like you would say, if gambling was not on your phone, would you still gamble? Of course you would, is what, a casino owner would say. But in reality, because we're talking about the US, back in the days, gambling in most places were illegal, and nobody even for their whole lifespan would have touched gambling. Nowadays, though, notifications pop up every minute of the day about the latest high stake gamble that you can do on whatever football throws they got there, and you're like, well, I gotta go for at least a parlay, gotta make that $1 into 100 for sure. Just gonna win 5 coin flips in a row.
was younger was always scary to me because I never knew who had a gun, who wanted to rob me. Visiting New Orleans a couple years ago, I was told by my hotel staff that a few days prior, a tourist was shot and died in the local Popeye's chicken because he caught a stray bullet of 2 people having an argument in the restaurant.
That's fucked up. That's fucked up. Imagine you're just minding your own business, want to get some Popeyes. You're like, let me start off the day. Some people are like, I'm having an argument. What is the solution to our argument? Obviously, is to shoot each other. And then you're there, you're like, oh, cool. And then they shoot you! And you're like, why? What did I do? I just got myself some Popeye.
So that's just something that people just have to deal with. This constant fear of, I could just die being caught in a crossfire and there's nothing I can really do about it. Because
That's fucked up.
freedom. I've pretty much never felt that level of fear in London at all. And that alone was enough to sway my opinion on guns. Sometimes, in online spaces, I
Keep in mind that London also has some issues nowadays. With is what I heard with the immigrants and all. Like, people are afraid to get out of the house there as well. Not necessarily because of the guns, but because there's just so many violent people on the street. So keep that in mind.
see a really popular bad faith argument used that, well, London simply replaced guns with knives. It's the same thing, actually. I do hate that we live in an age where I have to spell out that a machine that can kill tens of people every minute from a distance, that's main purpose is killing, is a different thing to an item primarily used for cooking or as a tool in the garden, which can also be used to hurt people one at a time, close up. I'm someone that's happy to change his opinion on something with new information. I cannot imagine having to stand by my beliefs that I had 15 years ago, which is why I also think it's a bit backwards to force yourself to stand by beliefs people came up with over 200 years ago for their society, as opposed to updating them like we update our opinions. It's not necessarily for lack of trying, it's just, as most Americans are aware, the government doesn't really work as you'd expect, or the way that we were taught it's supposed to.
I mean, the government doesn't work as expected. Where have you heard this story? Where have you heard this story? Except for, I don't know, everywhere. Corruption is always, when will be the forefront of politics. It's just the way it is. A lot of money just wasted on random bullshit, and you always wonder what is going on with my tax paid money. Oh, perhaps it goes into somebody else's pocket. Oopsie. And that happens everywhere.
work and school. It seems like it's always in a perpetual state of dysfunction, which leads me to the second big realization I had while in England. One thing that's really drilled into you in pretty much every year of American school is that American democracy is the end-all be-all of government, and that it is the beacon of freedom other countries look to emulate. Then, once you become an adult and you see how dysfunctional the US government is, you search for anything to feel better about it, and usually settle on, well, at least it's not a third world dictatorship. Low bar, but yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, obviously the democracy is better, right, than communism and all that. I mean, people that say that they had never lived their life one day through communism and see how fucked up is it to live through those days, because I had my parents live through it, and let me tell you, they have only horror story from that time. It's awful. You can barely get any food. You have no television, maybe 2 hours a week or some bullshit, and all of those are propaganda, the ones that you watch. It's so many restrictions during history hours. You have to learn about our great leader that, bunch of bullshit, corruption. You'd think it's over. No, actually, it's at an all-time high. Nah, it's still bad. But I would disagree in terms of the government is very dysfunctional in America. I would say it's the same everywhere else. This one, I don't know.
Yes, that is worse. But it's this weird false dichotomy where it's either American democracy the way it currently is or communism. So, living in the UK, I'm also used to having a rather shit government. We had a prime minister who couldn't outlast a lettuce, and now we have one with the personality of an office stapler. The interesting thing that I find about the parliamentary system that the UK and many other countries in Europe have is that even if it's a bit shit a lot of times, it is by design so much more functional at getting things done. In the US, you have this incredible idea of checks and balances to avoid consolidation of power. In theory, what mostly ends up happening is long periods where the two sides of the inevitable two-party system will never agree, so nothing gets passed, and Americans in need of better infrastructure or anything really get nothing. And then, when one party does get control, they spend their entire time destructively trying to undo everything the previous party did until the next election, when it just repeats. Things rarely move forward in America, they just stagnate or decline. The parliamentary system is not
Sorry. So, that I would say... go backwards for a bit. All I gotta say is that feels like the same tired story for everybody. I would say things are stagnating everywhere. Like, if you think about the inflation, you think only America has inflation. Look at Romania of all countries. It's going, like, the prices of everything is going insane mode. Like, at some point, because I lived in Netherlands, my mom comes over for a visit and she says the price of milk is same as Romania. Romania of all places. It's ridiculous. And the decision be made for the benefit of the citizen, as long as there's not monetary incentive to help the higher ups, the rich people, why should they even bother helping the everyday life person?
Is not perfect. In fact, first past the post, which is the style we have here, similar to the US's, is incredibly outdated compared to the ranked system of voting, and, in my opinion, the House of Lords is a relic of the past. But if a party or coalition of parties does not get a majority in Parliament, they pretty much cannot form a government. From my lived experience, in this case, a re-election is called to try again. Otherwise, nothing would ever get passed and the government would be ineffective. Remind you of anywhere? Like right now, how the US government hasn't found a way to fund itself? In the parliament model, that would literally mean a re-election. So politicians are encouraged to find middle ground, otherwise they lose their jobs. By design, this form of government allows for the government to actually move society forward, especially as it's for 5-year periods, which is usually a lot more stable. Sure, I might disagree with whatever tosser currently finds himself in number 10 Downing Street, but he's passing laws, and then when power shifts to
But are those laws good? Are those laws helping you? Some of them slightly, most of them not.
another party, as it did recently, it feels like the new party mostly sticks to the status quo, but trying to push society forward in the direction that they think is best, in less of a destructive style than American democracy. Basically just a little bit more stable. It's messy, yes, but after 13 years away, I've come to the belief that no system of government is perfect, but most systems in Western Europe are far more effective than what I grew up believing was the, quote, best in the world. And this doesn't even...
Okay, so his point of view is that it's not that big of a difference between the two systems, even though you're told to believe that yes, America is 10x better than government in Europe. Obviously, U.S. is a joke. I mean, come on. Come on, have you seen who's been elected in New York? The fact that Trump is elected. Who were the choices you had in the past few years to have a president? It's a joke.
On how badly money and corporations influence US politics more than the citizens do. Growing up, the idea of freedom to me as an American was owning a car and being able to drive wherever I wanted, whenever I wanted. This
Okay.
is intensely ingrained in American culture. In the 13 years I've lived in London, not once have I ever needed or wanted a car. That's a huge shift, pun intended. Figuring out how to use the trains and how to use the buses did take some genuine time to get used
So
to.
you're telling me that you are afraid to take the buses and transportation in US. It's kind of fucked up. I mean, I've seen a lot of videos of homeless people randomly attacking civilians or, actually just killing them.
But I cannot begin to explain how mentally freeing it is to want to go somewhere and just go without needing a car. I could commute to and from work, head to the pub for drinks with a friend, take a day trip to Wales or Oxford, and it's all as easy as walking. In the US, if I wanted to go to the grocery store, I would need to drive there. Pharmacy? Gotta drive there.
That's
Go to
fucked
the
up.
bar? Huh. Gonna get drunk, and then I guess I have to drive back. No other way of getting home, is there? Well, that's due to the awful zoning laws in the US, separating areas people live from areas with things that people want to see or do. That's just how it's designed. Within a 10-minute walk of my flat here, I can buy groceries.
That's fucked up. That's fucked up. They gotta change that. Holy shit. If you need to go with the car everywhere, like, think about all the gas expenses. Obviously, they're gonna overweight the expenses for public transport. That's fucked up. That's fucked up. That's not cool. That's not cool that you gotta drive everywhere. Maybe what if you don't wanna drive? Well, you have, or maybe you don't wanna have you don't have a car. Well, you gotta have a friend that owns a car, and maybe your friend is a goddamn degenerate that goes with 200 kilometers an hour on the highway. Come on, you don't want to take that risk, right? So with public transport, you're chilling. Or you go with you cannot. He's implying that you can't even go with a bike. It's too stressful. Or walking. Walking on the street is dangerous in America. That's fucked up.
Pop by, see a friend, go to the pub, I could go see a film, or I could just see some neighbors on the street, just because I can. You could say, that's because you're in a big city. Well, it's not
No.
just London that I've had this experience in, but Liverpool, Berlin, Munich, pretty much every town in England that I've ever visited had the same thing. Small towns.
Keep in mind, London, at least at this moment, is kind of there are danger areas that you should never put your foot on, because you're gonna get stabbed. So it's not like everything is rainbows and shines in London. Okay, keep that in mind.
Epsom, Marlow, Maidenhead. These are not giant cities, and yet they all have the same focus on walkable neighborhoods, which is so incredibly good for physical, mental health, everything. These days, though, I pretty much cycle on my e-bike everywhere because that is another option available to me here in London. London is full of safe and protected cycle paths that make commuting by bike not only viable, but faster than taking public transport and more fun. I have made an entire video about how
I
cycling
think
in London-
this issue with biking or walking around is once again tied to gun control. You're just afraid to go around anywhere by yourself because you're gonna get shot, or gonna at least you're gonna be followed by a bunch of homeless people, which another issue that US has. What are they doing with the homeless people? There's so much of them. They should just take them all and put them in one place. Like in Netherlands, there are specific zones for homeless to go. They get food and they let them, stay there. So we, the normal citizens, don't have to deal with that bullshit. Why is it so hard in US to do the same thing? I don't know. Weren't they the richest country in the world? Can they not afford, I don't know, a center where they pull in all the homeless people and put them in there so they can not bother people around? Huh? It beats me.
completely transformed my physical and mental health. I'll link that above. Can you cycle in the US? Oh yeah, it's just a lot more dangerous. Can you walk in the US? You could try, but again, significantly more dangerous, as I outlined in my video on why Americans
That's
don't
fucked
walk to
up.
school anymore.
Oh, whoa. What is this? You need to walk on grass. Come on, man.
more. Seems like a lot of things, it's like, oh, you can do that in the US. You just have to, risk your life a few times. Can you go to a restaurant in the US? Yeah, you just gotta risk your life. Can you have your kid go to school? Oh, just risk his life. It's fine. After having spent some
Unacceptable. Unacceptable. With all the money they got, they cannot figure out how to make it more safe for people to just walk around. This is unacceptable. Yeah, I mean, he's an American. He's just telling his story. It's kind of fucked up. Not gonna lie, it's kind of fucked up.
time living in walkable neighborhoods, I would never, ever choose to live in a car-dependent place ever again. It is truly one of the most life-changing parts of living over here. And because I'm always walking everywhere, because I'm always cycling everywhere, it's so much
Healthier.
easier to be healthy and physically fit without even trying. And this goes doubly for the food over here. The US already allows food manufacturers to pump so many unhealthy and unnecessary chemicals into foods in the name of profit. Groceries I buy in the UK and that I've bought in Germany are fresher, healthier, and contain fewer unnecessary ingredients as is legally mandated, and yet they're still significantly cheaper than what you can get in the US. It always blows my mind every time I visit a grocery store in the States from just how expensive all the basics are. As I've said before,
That's
Europe's
fucked up.
food agency focuses on
That's fucked up. I mean, I would have thought that US is much cheaper than UK. Now, for sure, I'm taking his words for granted. I don't know exactly. But the fact is, and the reality is that the price of grocery, essentials have increased significantly everywhere. It's fucked up. It's real fucked up. This is a general thing. But going back to his argument that some products, here are more looked into what they have, that's very good for the consumer. That's a big W. Why the US allows you to put, I don't know, cancer inducing ingredients into your food, and they say, oh, well, it's not that risky. There's a 1% chance that you can get cancer if you eat those crackers. Why? Why should you allow that to be in the store in the first thing? Because you got paid by the cracker company, so that you would allow them to put it in the store in the first place. Okay, I see where you're going with that.
And the US's focuses on probabilities. Is it possible an unnecessary additive could be harmful? Europe prohibits it, just to be safe. The US agency, the FDA, they only step in if the probability of it being harmful is high. So that risk is passed on to the average American consumer, which will be a running theme in this video, I suppose. In reality, the ability to quickly pop down to a local shop that's quite small with fewer options, and that just takes me 5 minutes to walk there, pick up some ingredients for the day or maybe for the week, is something I prefer doing so much more than having to do a weekly shop where I stock up on all these things and throw them in the back of my car. And it's one of those things where once you experience both, there is no contest.
You have flexibility also. It doesn't necessarily, you don't necessarily have to, buy every day grocery stores, but you can also choose to do the same thing that you do in the US and buy them all together, bundle them together.
No contest. So it's much easier to be healthy in Europe than in America, but if my health does have issues, I am glad it's not something that would ever bankrupt me or cause me to ever think about how much it would have to cost me. Just
Health insurance. They gotta fix it. US is fucked really bad on that aspect. And they are way too focused and on deporting all the illegal immigrants. But where are the concerns for the healthcare system, eh? Where are the concerns for the health of your average citizen? Well, nobody cares. I mean, if they die, we don't have to pay them pension, right?
to be sick. I've been to a hospital in London before, made a whole video about it. I was in some incredibly intense pain, so I called the free NHS helpline. They gave me advice and told me to go to the GP. So I did. He gave me some meds, cost me £9. And when the pain got worse, I went to the hospital and waited to be seen until I got to see a proper doctor. Embarrassingly, turns out it was just some intense gas pain. But thankfully, I was okay, and none of my hospital visit cost me anything at all. I didn't have to call up an insurance company asking permission to be sick.
Again, going to the hospital, again, inconvenience because of the systems they were put in place with the insurance bullshit. Oh yeah, you gotta call them for permission. You gotta call daddy insurance man to ask him if you can go to the hospital. What the fuck?
And $700 a month, only to discover still haven't paid enough. I gotta pay more just to get my proper health care. Just showed up, got the help I needed, and then I went home. That's quality of life.
It's ridiculous. For the amount you pay as a citizen in US, you should expect the premium and only the premium VIP treatment. And yet you are treated like a goddamn roach. Easy to be squeezed by the insurance company, and they would always try to make sure that they wouldn't pay for the services that you paid beforehand. Yeah, they say, oh yeah, you're about to die. Let's make sure that we don't have to pay you any money so that you die 100% on your operation bed. Come on, man. Give the man the money that he paid you in the first place.
A country without a healthcare system like that is not an advanced nation. There are only two types of people that are against the freeing social safety net that is universal healthcare. People that have never experienced socialized healthcare, and people that profit from the broken system.
Oh, I wonder who
There's a reason why whenever anyone
which group
any
is
of the
there
more
in
advanced
America?
nations in the world wants to visit the States, they have to get the most expensive travel insurance package because the US is dangerous. And 2/3 of Americans actually want universal health care. But 2/3 isn't enough in America's current form of democracy because that's only
It's all
66%
about the
of the
money.
people, but not
Dinero.
66% of the money. And that's actually how you're going to move things. On money, we're back onto the topic of my MacBook. If you buy a tech product in Europe, you have a reasonable expectation that it should last you at least 2 years free of defects.
Yeah.
And if it's not up to your expectations
Guarantee
or
period.
breaks down before then, you can demand a return or a replacement. This law protects consumers from shady business practices. My 2019 Intel MacBook
Don't
Pro
tell me they don't have that in the US. Come on.
was awful. It was constantly having issues. Kernel panics, overheating, forced restarts. It was an awful, awful device. And I didn't pay for Apple Care because I knew I didn't need to. I even made a whole vlog on the day I was returning it because I was so surprised that this consumer rights law would literally get me back the £4,000 I had spent on it. To date, that is still the only time I've ever needed to enact that right. Companies that sell products over here
If they don't have that in the US, what the fuck are they doing? What the fuck are they doing? Again, inconvenient. Why do you need another service for that? Beats me. What is going on? I had many instances where, like one time, I remembered I bought this USB stick, right? It cost me 50 euros at the time. And one of my colleagues, the next day, he told me, yo, Andy, you're an idiot. And I say, why? Because there's a discount now, right the day after you bought it. And now the USB stick is 25 bucks. And I got it for 25 at the same store you got it. And I said, no way. So I go back to the store and I see it's 25 bucks. So what I do is I take my USB stick from my home. I show them the receipt. And I say, hey, this is kind of fucked up. And they say, you know what? You're correct. You're entirely correct. Here's your money back. You can buy it again for 25 bucks. I was like, that's more like it. That's more like it. I was about to go full nuclear Karen on you for this, but I didn't even have to. Thank God.
have to have higher quality control or they risk losing a lot of money on returns. To people like me that understand that that law is there to protect us. But it's laws like this where you really begin to notice a pattern that life in Europe is one that gives more rights to the everyday person over giant corporations and shared benefit over private. Everyone can enjoy public transit. Everyone can benefit from free healthcare and safer food. And the biggest one of all is workers' rights. I've already made an entire video.
Free healthcare. Maybe in the UK. It's not the entire Europe. We have free healthcare. Let me tell you that. I didn't have in Netherlands. You still have to pay for it, right? Same for Romania. You gotta pay for it everywhere. Most of the places. No, maybe in the UK it's better, but no, not here.
Breaking down the workers' rights I gained moving from the US to the UK, but a quick summary would be 28 days minimum paid holiday.
This is the big thing. This this gun control, yeah, and that leads to a higher risk of, randomly getting shot wherever you go, and the fact that you use cars. Those are, in my opinion, the main things. Like the fact that you have to use cars all day, that's inconvenient. The fact that you might get shot because of gun control that hasn't been changed in decades. Then you have the work. This is just fucked. This is just fucked. The work culture is what scares most people because that's what you're gonna do your whole life. You're gonna live 24/7 working non-stop with the fear of God put into your soul that if you stop for one day in America, you're out on the streets and become homeless from like bam, just like that. Meanwhile, here, at least there's some safety nets to not allow you to be instantly get fired, for no good reason. And instead of 2 weeks vacation, and those 2 weeks vacation, I bet every American is just dreading on taking because they don't know if they're gonna be still at the job after they return. Because maybe the boss is like, oh, you left for 2 weeks? Unacceptable.
1 year, paid maternity leave. 2 weeks, paid paternity leave. Sick leave. Even the right against unlawful termination. When working part-time at Urban Outfitters in London, even though I worked less than 20 hours a week, I still got 2 days paid holiday per month. That's insane, right? No, that's
Insane for an American. Normal for us. Americans, they always trash talk us. You don't work all day. Good for you, man. You just shitting on me on how good I have it compared to you. It's like saying, you're so rich. I bet you feel so good with your Bugatti. And I'm like, yeah, I do.
just life over here. Meanwhile, I worked 5 years at a Pizza Hut in New Jersey for over 30 hours per week. Never got a single day of paid vacation in my life.
Pizza Hut. Big mistake.
That, and they only paid me $2.13 an hour,
Ooh.
which was insane at the time, is insane now because they still haven't increased it, and it hasn't been increased since the 70s. Because
Another issue I have with the US in particular, and I don't think he's gonna mention, is the fact that you have to pay every time you go to the restaurant, like, extra money to the waiter. Well, I don't remember exactly the name for it, right? Tips. That's what I'm looking for. It's a tips culture. That's so fucked up. Like, why should I feel obligated to pay tips? It's like an additional tax on your food when you go to a restaurant. Bullshit. I mean, I've seen so many TikToks of the chef from the restaurant literally following you down the street because you haven't given him a tip. Disgusting. Disgusting.
saves the corporations more money. Yet again, corporations versus the people. If one day I got a new boss in America, and even though I'd been working at the same company for 4 years, he didn't like me, he could fire me on the spot, and I'd be out of a job and in an awful
Too
situation.
bad.
In the UK, it's so much harder for an employer to fire you because the law requires dismissals to be fair in both reason and in procedure. In practice, that usually means your employer has to give you warnings and a chance to improve before they can even think about letting you go, unless it's something super serious like gross misconduct or something. Everything in Europe gives you, the individual, more rights over those with more money and power. Growing up, this is how I was taught the US was. I was taught the US is for the individual, is for the individual's freedoms. But in practice, that is really just not the case. And once I experienced just a year abroad, it was very apparent all of that was just propaganda. Or maybe, it's the way it was supposed to be, and
Misinformation.
things just went a bit wrong. And finally, the conversation around money. The US has a much higher cost of living regardless of your
But you make more money. At least that. Like, if you want to make money, but live a shitty life, but maybe, retire quicker because you acquire more money. Obviously, you don't retire in America. Maybe you go to another country with the money that you have acquired, because making $1 million nowadays in America is nothing burger, to be honest. But, yeah.
state. There are cheaper states, there are more expensive states, but the basics are still so expensive. Groceries are more expensive. Data plans, so much more
That is scary. That is scary. I always was under the impression that the groceries in America are cheaper than the ones in Europe. Like, at least like UK or perhaps Netherlands, right? Romania, no. Obviously, it should be cheaper in Romania. But if US groceries are more expensive than Netherlands, that's a red flag right there. That's fucked up.
expensive. Cable, healthcare, the costs associated with driving, all of these things
I mean, why am I saying this? Because I remember back in the days when I'm a big fast food enjoyer. That's all. A bit of a tangent. I'm a big fast food enjoyer, and I knew that if I want to eat good and it's cheap and eat a lot of fast food, I go in America, because that's the place where you go. Nowadays, oh yeah, the McDonald's meal that used to be $1, throw it out the window. Now it's 50.
Up. But hey, it's also true, salaries for most office jobs are significantly higher in the US than what you can find in most countries
Obviously.
in Europe. So,
You can very easily get over 100k for a job and a good well-paid job, right? Like IT or some bullshit. Here you don't. 100k is a dream.
if you earn a lot of money and money is your sole defining metric of success, then you can feel a lot more successful in the US. But because the culture in Europe is work to live and not live to work, you might find that the stress and cost trade-offs and quality of life are
Yeah, I also think you work all day, you eventually will get sick because of all the stress you impose your mind and body constantly. And guess what will happen because of the healthcare badly managed healthcare system? Eventually you will have to go to the hospital because of a sickness that you acquired by working yourself to the bone, and then you have to pay all the extra money that you acquired throughout your lifespan so that you can pay the for the sicknesses that you wouldn't have acquired otherwise. But hey, that's where all the money goes now. Good luck with that.
erode the value of that higher salary quite quickly. I don't care about GDP. I couldn't give two shits about companies. What I care about is quality of my life, the things that make me happy. I don't really care about this whole like, oh, well, our country has a big GDP and my state.
I don't think anybody cares about the GDP. It's just a way to, flex on people that are from other countries. But at the core, it's like, yeah, you have a higher GDP, but does that mean that you have a better way of life? And if you go into the details, the answer to it is no, then you just bamboozled yourself, basically.
There's the GDP of Norway.
Who fucking cares? That isn't affecting you in the slightest.
No.
What is affecting you is not having free healthcare, not being able to get around without forcing yourself to have to use a car, being able to have your kids go to school without getting fucking shot. I don't know. I just find that is such a bizarre sort of stance to have. It's like,
My quality of life is dictated by the money that the richest in the society make.
it's. I think the main thing, though, out of everything that I miss about the US that I can't really get here is not rights, not freedoms, not anything
It's the
that's
fast
big
food.
on quality of life improvements. It's just Mexican food. The quality of
Chick-fil-A,
Indian
whatever.
food in London more than makes up for both of those. For me, at least. So now I'd like to ask a question I've seen quite a bit online recently. Do Americans romanticize life in Europe too much? This might
No.
make sense. You see a lot of influencers online sharing
No,
things
they
about
don't.
Europe. and
Americans
you see
don't
these-
care about Europe. They just hope that things will get better in America. And I'm gonna break the magician's code and say it's not gonna get better. It's just gonna get worse and worse, especially this decade. I think things are moving towards a trajectory that nobody is economically wise. Like, yeah, if you're rich, congrats, you're gonna be richer. But if you are a medium layer in terms of the economy, you're fucked. And everybody below you, obviously.
posts of Americans going to Europe and being like, oh my God, it's so pretty. And then they come back and they're like, oh, I miss my iced coffee or something like that. But I just want to pause for a moment here because something I find really interesting about this whole conversation is just how much the shoe is on the other foot from where it was 20 years ago. Based on what they'd seen from Hollywood films and TV shows, Europeans used to ask the same thing about America. They were wondering if they were romanticizing life in America too much. That was, of course, when their main source of information about America was idealized
Fiction.
interpretations in the cinema. Whereas now, with the proliferation of YouTube and people sharing both
Yeah, and
sides
everybody knows exactly what's up. You finally realize, yeah, they ain't got it better there. Apart from the foot tsunamis.
of every situation, it seems like the pendulum has swung in the complete opposite direction. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I'd say Americans don't romanticize life in Europe at all.
They
But
wouldn't.
rather, they long for America to have some of the basic freedoms experienced by Europeans. They wish they had the option to experience some of the freedoms that Europeans have, but
Why wouldn't they? And the question is, why do they not have them? Is it that difficult? And the answer to that is yes, because some of the inconvenience that is created by these bad systems is actually benefiting them. And as long as it's gonna benefit the people in the higher up positions, you're not gonna see any change anywhere in the country. That's how it goes.
In the US. Every country has its problems. Every country likes to think their country has a uniquely bad government and inefficient bureaucracy.
All of
But
them have
that
bad
is one thing
government,
that's pretty consistent
some way
no
or
matter where you
another.
move to. A common gotcha when having this conversation online is countries in Europe have racism, or countries in Europe
Countries in Europe have racism. Okay, and what about the US?
also have a homeless problem, or housing
Homeless problems depends on the country. In Netherlands, you wouldn't see any homeless person. I'm not capping. I'm telling you, there's no homeless. Also in Romania, there's a few drunkies and some homeless people, but not at the degree you would see in America. Bro, in America, you see a full road. You go like down the road, and there's a line of hobos. Fuck that bullshit.
crisis or cost of living, so on and so forth. That's not really something I don't think anyone's really debating. No American is looking to life in Europe as if it has no problems at all, and
Yeah.
that the existence of these similar problems makes moving there pointless. I think most Americans who are eyeing up Europe are doing so because of the things that America is lacking. Nearly 2 in 3 Americans want universal health care. Well, America doesn't offer that.
Good luck with that.
Again, 2 in 3 Americans want European-style vacation policies.
Good luck with that.
America doesn't offer that. And 53% of Americans would prefer to live in a walkable neighborhood, but sorry.
No need for that. No need. Just buy yourself an expensive car that you have to pay taxes on a yearly basis. You know what I mean? Psh, what are you, poor?
America doesn't offer that. The list goes on. If America were an actual democracy, I don't think many of these people would be having romanticized views of Europe at all because they wouldn't need to. They could have everything they wanted in the country they were born and raised. And judging from the results of a recent survey showing that 52% of Americans feel that they could have a higher quality of life abroad, and that 43% of Americans think they would be happier if they moved abroad,
That's fucked up. That's fucked up. That's not okay. That's not okay. Feeling that your country is going downwards in a downward spiral. Obviously, you're gonna do whatever it takes. You're gonna vote for the most degenerate people. And guess what? That's not gonna change. Because at the end of the day, the whole catalog of politicians you could have selected through, they all will still do the same bullshit over and over, but with different little flavors, little colors. Oh, you're still gonna pay for healthcare like 10K a year. But guess what? Carlito, your neighbor, now is out of the country. Okay? Is that gonna change anything? No, he's just out of the country. Okay. Bye bye, Carlito.
I think this majority of Americans have seen how the US government actually operates counter to the will of the majority of the American people, and have mentally given up the idea of the US ever improving in these areas that matter a lot to them. And after being continuously exposed through social media, as opposed to Hollywood, about how life in Europe actually is, and these basic freedoms that are enjoyed over here, I think many Americans are happy enough to ignore the perceived downsides of moving abroad. They don't really want to move abroad. They probably don't even want to learn a foreign language. But
Yeah, but if things don't change over there, you would rather try your luck somewhere else.
at the end of the day, they'd probably rather do that and all the other hurdles they have to go through rather than have their family go bankrupt if they get sick or get hit by a car or get shot. Moving to a country in Europe or really anywhere at all won't solve all your problems.
No.
But it very well may solve one or two of the big ones that you actually care the most about. At the end of the day, a lot of this just comes down to what you value in life
Exactly.
the most. Certain things that you value will...
If you
guide-
value money, America is the place to go. But obviously, there's a caveat. It's not gonna be the same amount of work you put here for that amount of money. You're gonna put 2x at least more effort into gaining maybe 1.5x more money that you'll be earning here in a country such as Netherlands. But if you live in Romania, you obviously the x is the multiplier would change even higher.
you towards certain
But we also work less than Netherlands.
countries and certain regions of the world where you can actually achieve those things. The other day I saw a thread on Reddit titled, "Americans Who've Moved Abroad Permanently, Was It Worth It to You? Would you recommend it? And how's your life now?" And the top comment on that really spoke to me, and I wanted to read it to you. US to Germany in 2017, never going back. Our work-life balance is incredible. We travel, have time for our kid, public health care, free daycare, free college for our son.
I said, the most important aspect for people is basically how they allocate their time, right? And the activity that you spend the most time on is work, right? You work, and if the work you do is somewhere, I don't know, 60 hours per week and very stressful, and you don't have vacation days as many, you just go somewhere else with 40 hours and maybe they pay you twice as less. But as long as it's survivable, who cares?
Reliable public transportation, and we can bike everywhere in the city. Cost of living is lower, quality of life is higher. There is very little violent crime, and we live 2 kilometers from a...
Germany has its issues. Well, like I said, the immigrants are there are doing a lot. There's a bit of havoc there. Not gonna lie.
lake at the midpoint between several large public parks and within walking distance of about 12 grocery stores, hundreds of restaurants, and a major hospital with cardiac and children's specialty departments. Today, we rode bikes to the grocery store and then got cash and pedaled over to a sushi place for lunch before riding bikes along the canal and stopping to relax and play on a swing set next to the canal. It's not easy, but it's been infinitely worth it for us. This is about a city in Germany, but this is also how I feel
And
about
the safety of the children. Work culture, and I think safety of your children. You hear all these horror stories day in and day out. You go to the church, people getting shot by some fucking lunatic. And how did this guy get his guns? Oh, I don't know. I mean, he just went to the store and said, can I get the best a gun that could kill a bunch of people in a church? And the guy is looking at him. He's like, very suspicious, but I don't care. Not my business. There you have it. The best gun we have in the store. A grenade launcher. There you have it.
I can cycle anywhere I want to, safely, along the canals, to visit friends or pick up groceries. I can hop on any type of train or bus I want, and if I get sick, I can head straight to the doctors and get helped for free. I don't have to fear getting shot over a disagreement or have my child be shot when learning in school. And that is a big deal, to me at least. I could not do any of these things. And then I experienced it, and now I can't go back. So would I say Americans romanticize life in Europe? No. I'd say Americans have finally stopped romanticizing life in America. If you're someone that views money and increasing the amount of money that you have as the sole qualifier for quality of life, you probably won't like it in Europe, to be honest with you. Or maybe, you'll find that money isn't as important a thing when all your needs are met and you can just live your life. What was the line again? The pursuit of happiness. I think that's what it comes down to in the end of the day. And I'm just glad that
Time is money. The time you don't spend working can be also quantified as money.
I do have the freedom to pursue whatever makes me happy.
Might not be as easy to get a job after I go to London because the network isn't there. I could get a job in London. That's not where I'm going to live for the rest of my life.
But before I wrap this up, let me just take a quick word to thank today's video sponsor, Incogni. So if you didn't know, I actually kept my original American phone number when I first moved to the UK. I ported it to my Google account because I originally planned on moving back to the States. And the reason I bring this up is because I can see that America is inundated with spam calls and spam texts at the moment.
That's everywhere.
Because, well,
everywhere.
A lot of their private data is all over the internet. Thankfully for me, I use today's video sponsor, Incogni, that work in the background to remove my private...
Trust me, I got like scam calls in Romania of all places. Like they're looking for the poorest people because maybe I'm stupid, you know, because I'm poorer. So he's like, hey, respond to this random call. And I'm like, no. But some people, you know, they fall for it.
Phone number, my address, loads of information that I don't just want all over the place, and they remove it in the background. Look how many different data brokers they have removed my data from recently. Insane. The line just keeps going up. Now, truth be told, full transparency, you have every ability to email these data brokers yourself and get them to remove your data. But there are quite a few of them, and so it is incredibly time-consuming if you want to take back control.
That's
why it's
looking
nice to
at
just
this?
let Incogni work in the background and do it for me. That won't affect continuity. Just like the spam calls won't affect me. So if you'd like to take back control of your private data, sign up today at incogni.com/EvanEdinger, and you can even get a nice discount. My link is in the description.
Let's go.
So thank you very much to Incogni for sponsoring. Now, let me wrap this up. This is a video I've considered making for a really, really long time, and every time I tried to get started on it, I would end up taking an entire section of the video out and just making a video about that. That's how my healthcare
because it
video
has
came to be.
so many topics
That's
to
how
talk
my
about.
supermarkets video came to be. It's pretty much how most of my videos came to be. And at this point, I was just like, you know what? I want to compile everything that I really feel about my move and all the benefits that I feel like
he's happy. That's
I've had
the
here,
most
and just
important
put
at
them
the
in
end of
one
the day.
video.
Are you
So one
satisfied
thing I
with
feel
your
like a lot
move?
of people ask is like, well, what did your family think? And it's like, Well, yeah, my mom cried. She was like, but how could you ever want to leave America? And I feel like it's that mindset when you've never left America. The idea of it sounds crazy because of all the indoctrination that you've gone through. And if you've never left, you can't ever know what it's really like until you do. And so I guess what I can only say is I hope everybody gets a chance to either find a way of fixing the broken democratic system in the US
Not gonna happen.
or find a better life. What a nice ending. Anyway, I'll see you on my channel.
Yeah, you should try to expand your horizons and see what's up, in other countries. I've been in Netherlands, and I've been to a few more countries. I'm not gonna go into it too much, but yeah, I have an idea of how things are somewhere else, and I always think to myself that if things are not going on okay here in Romania, there's always other opportunities, and you shouldn't be scared to move and change your perspective. It's gonna be a bit difficult at the beginning, obviously, with the move and all that, but once you get settled, most of the times you in some cases you'll be satisfied with this person. Now, I agree with most things he said. Gun control needs to be updated. It's fucked. Like, every degenerate getting his hands on guns is like he said, you go to a goddamn fast food restaurant, hey, you get shot and you didn't get into the argument, somebody else did, but hey, you were just around. Good for you, man. What the fuck? Number 2, healthcare. Just stop. Just stop. The healthcare, just stop. Just stop doing things the way they are now. People are very dissatisfied with that. Okay? This is it. And transportation and all that. Oof. You gotta improve the safety around with homeless people and gun control and all that bullshit. So you as a parent cannot feel like your kid is walking on mines every time he goes to the school. For real. Now, there's some things he's say the democracy and all that. It's potato. Is it better here? Is it better there? Different shades of gray, right? Potato. Everybody's corrupt at the end of the day.